Welcome back for another Sins of a Solar Empire 2 video featuring the Vasari Exodus. Today we're looking at the third of the new DLC only super capital ships, the Anarkrul Wanderer. That's a mouthful. This is the Vasari Exodus super capital ship, and I think it's pretty good. So I was debating if I was going to do this ship next or not, simply because this one in particular I think is a little quirky in the reasoning that I don't think I have a very clear-cut expectation for this ship. I think that this ship by itself molds the Vasari Exodus into something a little different than what it thematically was supposed to be. For those that don't know, Vasari, the Exodus faction, is the mobile faction with the mobile labs on everything, the additional research on everything on the capital ships. You can put exotic refineries on the capital ship, and a lot of things end up on your capital ships because the whole point is that you are supposed to be able to get to, where is it, strip to the core, so that you can take your entire home planet, destroy it. Actually, you can destroy every planet you own and essentially pull all the resources off the planet and use that. And where is it? I think it's mobile rulership. Is it down here? I don't play these guys enough. No, it's in military. You get the mobile rulership ship item that allows you to not lose the game if you lose all your planets, but you have the rulership capital ship still surviving. It can only be placed on the Titan, the Verastra, and now you can put it on the new super cap. I'm just going to call it the Wanderer because it's a lot easier. So again, I was debating if I was ready for this one, I look forward to any feedback you guys have on this one, just because I'm not as super clear cut on this one as I thought I should be to do it, but I wanted to put a new video out today, and this was the ship I think was probably the best, the one I know the next best. Alright, so the Wanderer is 600 durability, starts with a shield points of 7820, armor points of 2940, with an armor strength of 90, and hull points of 8840, antimatter of 461, and at level 1 it comes with 6 Strikecraft groups. That's not a typo. It does start with 6, which is exactly on par with the Scarantra. I do kind of think that this ship looks a little bit like the Scarantra's older brother. You know what? Let's pull one in and look at it. Carrier, sorry, cruiser. So you can kind of see the resemblance. It's got the double fangs on the front here. It's got the under piece here, and then it's got a nice oval capital bridge area. And same thing here. It's got the same long fangs in the front, the one that kind of extrudes on the bottom, and then the bridge area up on top of the ship. So this ship does have a max speed of 660. 660 is relatively fast, I think, for the Vasari. It's kind of like the second tier of capital ships. The Marauder is at an astounding 720 as a base speed, and then also can buff everything around it with faster speed. So 660, I think, puts you on the same speed as the Cordal Devastator and the Desolator. So this one does get into the fray, I guess, a little quicker than the Evacuator would, or than the Scarantra would. Weapons that come on the ship is 5 heavy wave cannons, 12 DPS apiece with 300 pierce, 5 heavy beams, 10 DPS and 500 pierce, and a outrageous 18 point defense pulse guns with a 4.5 DPS and 0 pierce. So that 18 pulse guns is no accident, and this ship, as you can very clearly tell just by the little bit that we're looking at, is meant to be a carrier and help you take over the skies, which I think is a really cool idea. So I'm excited to talk about it. So I'm going to turn on weapon arcs. I forgot to do that. Weapon arcs and points. No, names. Alright. I haven't looked at this one yet, so we'll do this one kind of together. So it looks like we have a rear, looks like a rear 270-degree wave cannon at the back of the ship. That'll hit everything rearward and even a little bit sideways over on the side here. And then I expect we're just going to see pulse weapons forever all the way around this ship. Beams, I think I noticed this when I was messing around with it. There are 5 beams and they're all front mounted. Where can I find it? Pulse, ship beam. Alright, so it's this guy right here. There's 1, there's 2, and then I think 3. Here's 3, so I'd make this 4. And where is the last one? Is it down here? No, I already got that one. Planet bombing, ship wave. Oh, there it is. This guy right here, which looks to have 270 degrees as well, so that's a backwards facing. So it looks like you have 4 front-facing heavy wave cannons, 4 front-facing heavy beams, 1 rear-facing heavy wave cannon, and 1 rear-facing heavy beam. With all these pulse defense guns, I'm not going to get into all of those. I think there's just too many to talk about, so I'm not going to look at weapon arcs and look at how many you can see on each side, just because it's a little bit overwhelming. So we'll get into the skills. The first skill is the countermeasure pulse. It has a 90-second cooldown. Let me pull up my notes. There we go. So it has a 90-second cooldown at base, costs 30 antimatter, a gigantic range of 12,000, which is pretty big for just about anything these days. Which is about as far, I think, as most of the long-range missile cruisers are, so you'll be in range to hit those with this. It does damage to any strikecraft and missile and torpedo in the air. I did test it on the tech torpedo cruiser, so it does do damage to those. And I don't know if you've played with those before, but they basically have, I think it's 100 armor with 50 durability, and it's either 100 or 150 hull points. So the armor does take reduced damage from this, so if it's still on armor, then you're doing a little bit less damage than you would think. And then on the ship itself, so it's a self buff on the bottom one for a damage against the Wanderer of minus 18%, and that duration is 30 seconds. So basically you do a nice big area of effect pulse. I'm going to go ahead and scale it up and show you. So you pulse everything very quickly in the area around you, and you get this nice little pink debuff on yourself that says you take reduced damage, and everybody else can see that you're taking reduced damage. So the skill itself, and I'll go to my level 10, because I think this is a good one. So cooldown goes from 90, 87, 84, 81, 75. Antimatter goes up by 12 each level. Nope, that's not right. So it goes from 30 to 42, 42 to 54, 54 to 66, and then that last level jumps 24 antimatter all the way up to 90. So goes up by 12 for the first 4, and then that last one's 90. Radius stays the same the whole time, and then the duration that we get on it, the duration only counts for the reduced damage against the Wanderer. That's a flat 30 seconds. But what you get with the levels, besides just cooldown and antimatter, is extra damage on Strikecraft and missiles. So the damage goes up 36, 48, 60, 72, and 96, which that 96, I think you can actually do it at level 3 with 60 damage, will kill, I think, all of the Advent fighters. And I think if the bombers don't die, they take significant damage and almost die at that point. So just one wave of countermeasure pulse at level 3, 4, or 5 should clear the skies of Advent, unless they have a Halcyon buff on their fighters. And then the damage reduction goes from 18, 24, 30, 36, and then a outstanding 48% damage reduction. Now, I don't know if, I'm assuming that that damage reduction is flat, because this is one of those damage reduction abilities that usually doesn't have a modifier unless something also has like a damage improvement. So I'm trying to think of skills that would. So something like the Cortol Devastator Ultimate, where everything that has the debuff on it takes an extra 18% damage. Those, if I remember correctly, should just straight go head to head on subtraction each other. So if you have a minus 48 and it has a plus 18, you're still at a minus 30 in damage. So countermeasure pulse, I think, is going to be the skill that you will probably max as you level this ship, just because damage reduction is such a hard thing to get in this game, and having a way to reduce anything will keep you alive that much longer. So fantastic skill. You can use it in a support manner, you can use it in a clearing manner to just continuously clear torpedoes and missiles. If you've got a lot of Javelins or a lot of, I wouldn't even say Tempest, because the Tempest missiles are going to do nothing to the ship anyway. Or if you see a lot of Canrax, or just fighters in the air in general. It does not do damage to corvettes. It will kill torpedoes off of the tech missile corvette, but that's pretty much all it's going to get on those. So very good skill. I wouldn't recommend it being the first skill that you take. I do recommend this is probably the one that you get to level 5, for a couple of reasons, mostly for cooldown reasons, but also for that damage and damage reduction. So this is a great skill to have. Always make sure you have antimatter to cast this if you can. The second skill is Empowered Strikecraft. I think that this is also a really good skill on this ship. So it gives your fighters, I'm going to jump to level 10 to look at it. It gives your fighters the ability to remove 6 antimatter every single time they attack. We will go into the fighters and bombers again shortly, because this super capital absolutely requires you to know what your fighters and bombers are capable of. So we'll talk about those aircraft when we finished up with the skills. So you have a 24% chance of removing 6 antimatter. So if you decided that you wanted to go full fighter on this one, you could probably pretty much clear any capital ship of antimatter very quickly, because of the amount of fighters that you'll have in the air. The second one is for the bomber, is that all missiles get an extra 12 damage added on top of them, and they move from 420 pierce up to 600 pierce. I personally think that the pierce number going all the way up to 600 is more impactful than the bonus damage. just because going from that 420 to 600 lets you hit other super capitals with full pierce, and getting to be able to pierce any of these will kill them that much faster, um, and it's just good overall. So I do think that this is, we'll go through the levels. So your fighter chance increases from 24 to 30 to 36 to 42 and then 54, but it is a flat 6 antimatter removed. And then the bomber attack effect is 12, 15, 18, 21, and then 27, and you keep the same 600 pierce. So it doesn't show, I don't think it shows, where's my ship? Yeah, so this does have the buff on it because this bomber belongs with this ship. There it is. That's got your empowered Strikecraft. It does not show on the unit card, but it does get the positive buff that shows that it's applicable to this ship. So I think that this is probably the skill you get first when the ship comes out of the fleet beacon or whatever it is that we call our ships in on. I think this is a first level skill, and then you can leave it for a while. And the reason is because bombers have and it's bonus damage per missile. So these bombers do drop 4 phase torpedoes every single time that they shoot a volley. It's on an 18-second cooldown. We'll get into all the details after we finish up the skills, but I think this is a 1-point wonder. And then you can go here or go to countermeasure pulse. Maybe you go to phase escape once early, but then you never come back and touch it. So we'll talk real quick about this one. So phase escape is very similar to the Anarkrul Marauder's phase out ability, but you have the ability to continue moving while you're using the ability, and it does give you a additional stat buff of max speed goes from 15, 18, 21, 24, and then 30. Max turn speed is 30, 36, 42, 48, and 60. Cooldown goes from 120 all the way down to 90 at level 5, and then antimatter cost goes up from 120 to 150. So I think phase escape is also another good skill that you're going to be able to pick up. It does not stop your bombers from doing anything, but it does mean all of your cooldowns stop working. I'll level it up and use it. So you use it, pause it, get a buff on it, puts you in phase space. For those that don't remember what phase space is, I'm going to quickly call in a marauder. See if I remember how to find it. Sorry. Capital battle. Marauder. It's got its own name. So phase out hull. We'll hit that guy. I can't even do it to myself. No, it's not letting me do it. Thought it used to let you do that. Puts you in phase space, makes you invulnerable. You can't move, you can't attack, you can't get cooldowns on your abilities. Can't phase jump either. I think that's probably the biggest thing to note on this skill is you can use it. You can make yourself invulnerable for 30 seconds. It lets your fighters and your bombers continue doing stuff if they're already out in the air. It does stop any production of Strikecraft if you lost a bomber or if you lost a fighter already. They do stop producing, and they don't come out of the ship anymore if they're already in. But let's say you had like 100 Canrack missiles pointed at you and you were getting low health, and you decide you want to just dodge for the sake of dodging. You can use it, but like I said, you cannot go into phase space with it, and you can queue up for phase space so that as soon as you get out of it, you start to warp and start your 8-second channel reduced down to 6 seconds if you get the optimized phase drive, reduced even further if you have the minor faction for the reduced phase jump time by 100%. So, like I said, so phase space I think is a good 1-point wonder on this ship. I think you do want it at some point just for safety, but I don't think it's mandatory to level this one up. And then the final ability is the Nano Devourer Plague. You get this at level 6 and level 10. It has a... That doesn't look great. So the wiki shows it at 180-second cooldown, or 3 minutes. So it's a 4-minute cooldown. Go ahead and grab it. Yeah, so 4-minute cooldown, range of 1200. You can point it, you can cast it on any one ship in the area around you. Has an antimatter cost of 180 and then 240 at the second level, and then has a 90-second duration. So the target that you pick with the Nano Devourer Plague takes 90 damage per second or 180 damage per second with 1,000 pierce for 90 seconds. And for reference of how much damage that is 8,100 damage at 1,000 pierce. So as long as you're not in armor, you're doing full damage to everything, including star bases, with that over the 90-second duration. I think that the duration, or that you can't be fooled by the damage that it's going to do, because 90 seconds with this ship is kind of an eternity, just because you have so many bombers in the air and they're doing 600 pierce to stuff anyway, that 90 seconds, or the damage number seems nice, but it's a long time that it takes to use it. I would say that this is a Titan killing ability. This is another super cap killing ability, but really nice that you have like a spike damage on this ship. And then when the target dies, excuse me, you receive 24 metal, 24% crystal of the target's build cost, and then the Devourer Plague will jump from one target at level, or at the first level, and then can jump to 3 targets at level 10. And it has a 6,000 radius that it could spread, so about half the distance that you see on your screen here with this purple. So I think that this is a good skill, and it can kind of chain to a lot of ships if you can kill that first one and make the plague jump. So it might not be a bad idea to jump to I'm sorry, when you get the second level. The first level I think is a little bit difficult, because then you have to find the one that is plagued and continuously kill it. So you have a choice. You can either throw it on a frigate and let it just kind of build up and continually jump from frigate to frigate for a while, or you can throw it on a super cap or a capital ship and hopefully try and melt that one down and then force it to jump to something else and just do extra damage there. So interesting skill, I think, and definitely worth picking up when you can get it. So as far as skill builds go, I think what it should be is you start with 1 level in W, which is your Strikecraft ability right here. Is you definitely get the empowered Strikecraft once first. Then I think the second skill is Countermeasure Pulse, and then level 3 you can choose to either go with another phase escape, or you can get Countermeasure Pulse, and just continue to max that one anytime it becomes available. So my final build on these is 5 points in Countermeasure Pulse, 2 points in Empowered Strikecraft, where you're not picking up this last point until level 8, because you can get Countermeasure Pulse at 2, 4, 5, 7, and 9. So you would get the Strikecraft at 1 and 8, and then you probably grab Phase Escape at 3. and then the 2 levels on the ultimate at 6 and 10. Alright, so I said we'd talk about fighters because this is a fighter-based super cap, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to go to my unbuffed ones. So this is no upgrades. The heavy fighter, for each squadron that you get here, you get 2 heavy fighters. So the heavy fighter does have shield, does have armor, does have hull. So 60 shield points, 30 armor points with a hidden armor of 18. So you're still taking like 90% damage, even on armor. But the armor is still a good thing to have. Hull points of 125. And then it has a weapon for 1 light beam that does 10 damage per second with 120 pierce. It is a 30 damage beam with a 3-second cooldown. And if you've seen these heavy fighters in action, you would know that they have a much quicker cooldown than the advent fighters do or than the tech fighters do. So you need to, and they've got a different kind of flight path too. So kind of a cool ship. And then the bomber, at base 45 armor points, has 18 armor strength as well, so you're just taking basically just a slight reduction in point defense damage that you're getting hit by. A 90 hull, and then has the light phase missile with 5.3 DPS at 420 pierce. It does shoot 4 light phase missiles. Each missile, I believe, let me pull that up. Where is it? There it is. Each missile does 24 damage and has an 18-second cooldown, which is where it gets that 5.3 DPS. So when we talk about damage per missile and the way, and I really just kind of want to talk about the bomber and how empowered Strikecraft works with it. So you get the bonus damage per missile. Now, I did say that the missile shoots 4 at a time for 24 damage. So just getting a bonus of 12 damage on that missile is essentially like upgrading the damage by 50% just for one level. And more than anything else, the pierce is going to get you full pierce on capital ships, which you didn't have before, and full pierce on super capital ships, which you didn't have before. So all that extra damage will add up, and you'll do that much more damage. And then as far as how the empowered Strikecraft buffs it, your DPS essentially goes from, well, this one's already got full research, so that's why it's higher. So this one's at 7.4 DPS. You would essentially take your damage. Where's my calc? You take your damage and essentially multiply by 50% on that 7.4. So you're doing about 12 damage per second with 600 pierce on it. So what I have seen is in the one test game that I ran I maxed out empowered Strikecraft on it just because I hadn't really thought about what else to do on it, and it was against AI, so it was kind of just everything was dying instantly. So I brought in all 3 of my super caps into one gravity well, sent all bombers at like a level 5 capital ship for the tech, and I almost killed it from full shield, full armor, and full hull to almost into crippled hull in just a single volley. So that's the kind of damage we're talking about is when you've got levels and when you've got levels into empowered Strikecraft, at least 1 level for sure. These are quite potent at what they're able to do. Now the Wanderer does, like I said, it starts with 6 Strikecraft, and then it levels up in increments of 3. So at level 2, you go from 6 to 9, 3 you stay flat, 4 you jump to 12, 5 stays at 12, 6 you get to 15, 7 stay at 15, 8 go to 18, 9 stays at 18, and then level 10 you get up to 21 Strikecraft. So you can, this is auto built. Let's see if we can get them all up. So because they come in groups of 3, 21 squads of bombers is essentially 63 bombers out on the field. And then those bombers all get all the bonuses that you got with empowered Strikecraft. So very, very good. Since you do have 3 of these, it's kind of up to you if you want to do 5 points here, 2 points here, 1, and then 2. You could decide that you wanted to go all 5 into one of them for empowered Strikecraft, and just that one is gonna, those bombers are just gonna explode that much more whatever they're hitting. So you can kind of play around with it and see what works for you, I think. But these Strikecraft are now quite good and quite strong, so definitely do it. And then for items, so you don't get any unique items on this capital ship, where some factions I know got new items that are only applicable to the super caps. You didn't get any new ones for Exodus. You get to keep all the same ones. So one of the things that you can research is the efficient subdivision. So you can essentially go from 6 components all the way to 8, just by getting to tier 5 and researching that. So that's kind of cool. And I think the biggest reason that we do that, or why they gave us 8 instead of 6, is it allows us to set up the exotic refineries, the fleet beacon, or put the mobile ruler ship on the ship, just for buffs sakes. So that said, the way that I personally would build this is, I think that the Strikecraft armor, this is the first time I would say that this is a mandatory purchase on anything. So I've been super critical of this item in the past, where the only ship that I think that this is even valuable on is the Scarantra carrier, and that's assuming that you're keeping something alive long enough to get a number of Strikecraft out that allows you to win a battle. So for those that don't know, it gives every Strikecraft, and including fighters or bombers, where it gives you 60 additional armor points. It gives you armor regen in combat, which you didn't have before. So your bombers get additional armor regen while in combat, and you have the hull regen in combat, which you level up through the tech tree right here. So you do get additional bomber health regen, and then you bump your armor strength up from I believe it was 18 up to 30, so a little bit slight damage reduction, especially because you're mostly getting shot with stuff. Actually, armor strength doesn't matter, but you're mostly getting hit by point defense, if anything. So I think that this is the first time, like I said, this is the first time this item is mandatory on any ship that I've been looking at. So I would absolutely grab this on all 3 of them, because you're going to be so heavy into fighters or bombers that you definitely want this. If you are fighters, because maybe the enemy has a lot of capital ships that you want to remove armor or antimatter instead of actually killing them, which I think is a mistake because of how much damage you do to them. It basically gives your fighters the ability to have active shield regen running, and armor regen, and hull regen, so it makes them ludicrously tanky. And then for items after that, I think phase attenuated shield is always going to be a good one, especially for any ship, because this is a carrier. You're going to keep this kind of at the back line anyway, and just kind of let your fighters or bombers do everything. But if it does take damage, I think you want phase attenuated shield. You definitely want inertial anchor as well on at least one of them, if not all 3. Reason being is, if you are fighters, it basically slows down their Strikecraft and causes yours to just clear the air. It definitely allows your point defense to do more damage because, again, it's slowing down fighters and clearing the air. And then missiles, slowing them down gives your point defense even longer to kill them. So I think this one is also a mandatory purchase. Self-repairing armor is a super good item anyway on big ships no matter what. So I recommend getting that one just because of how good it is. And then because you are a carrier, um, I think the gravity stabilizer is an ideal purchase for this ship. Not because you're running into a fight and trying to do something in the middle, but more because you're on the outskirts of a fight and the last thing you want to do is be caught in any way, shape, or form. So I really like gravity stabilizer on this ship, just because of it gives you that extra turn speed, the acceleration, the max speed, and it allows you to, if you need to run, you can run that much faster. If you don't want to run, then you don't have to worry about it, and it just allows you to move across the gravity well that much quicker to do your job. And then after that, really, there's not much else that I recommend. I actually do think that the best place to go would be into the minor factions, and you want phase jump time, and you want the Luxian minus cooldown and plus experience. And those two can be interchanged, I think, here, depending on which of these you might be waiting on an exotic or something to build. And maybe, probably phase attenuated shield might be the first one to drop off before anything else. But you have so much shield on this that you kind of just want you kind of want the phase attenuated shield anyway. So I this is a weird thing to say. I stay away from the offenses. I stay away from the only consumable you really probably want are the two, the healing one and the nano catalyzer swarm if you have space for it. But I weirdly think that these 5 items, maybe grav stabilizer is the first one you can take off. But I think these four are, I'm gonna say, not mandatory, but they're going to be your first purchases, and there's no better weapons for these slots. You should be all defensive, all here, and letting your Strikecraft do all the work. There's no like I said, there's no other real way to build it. And then you do have the ability to, like I said, you can put mobile rulership on one of these. You can also put mobile rulership on your Titan, and I don't think either one is really a bad choice. I think it's good on either one. They both have their positives and negatives for putting it on here. Like maybe you want the micro phase jump to be able to get out with the Verastra, or you want to put it on your Wanderer because you'll use phase escape and countermeasure pulse to run away from something if you're truly scared. And then otherwise you can put mobile fleet beacon on it. You can put the mobile resonance. I don't know if I like the resonance capacitor, but we haven't talked about phase resonance yet, but we'll do that quickly. So then in minor factions, I don't have any unlocked, but the crippled hull one, think about that one if you've got a ship that's almost dead and you just want to save it for that much longer. Even level 1 unbuffed, it's still almost 9,000 hull points that they have to work through, and if you get all of the hull bonuses, I mean, it's still 12,500 hull points, which is kind of an astronomical number if you think about it. And I think that's it for ship items. Oh, and then Tachyon boost in minor factions is going to be really good. I know Exodus kind of struggles to get influence past 5 points, because they stop here, and then you have to kind of find space for the Exodus Xeno assembly blueprint to get your bonus influence, and there's only like 5 planets you can put it on, so this one's actually a struggle to find space for. Otherwise, you have to find space to do administrative uplinks on planets, which you may not even be sticking around to have planets because you want stripped to the core. So you'll have to consider your ship items, because I don't think any of these give influence. No. So you're kind of a little bit out of luck there. So get your influence going. Get the items you think you might need from the minor factions as soon as you can, or when you can, and just kind of go from there. And then phase resonance. I think the way that this ship plays, mobility is absolutely your best friend. I don't know if they changed how phase jump speed works in the current patch, but what I learned is that as soon as you go into warp, your phase jump speed activates. And I found that testing because I had a ship in phase jump. I went and grabbed 4 points in one go from 0 to 4, and I watched as the one ship I had was crawling along here, and then I had some other ones jump, and they almost caught it before we got to the halfway point. So having the phase jump speed definitely helps while you're in your current jump, and then you get your max speed timer starts as soon as you hit the gravity well on the other side. So maybe phase jump speed's a little bit better than I thought it was, because I was thinking it was always you had to get into the gravity well and then you had a timer to use your next phase jump and make it work. But I learned that phase jump speed actually activates as soon as you leave the gravity well that you're in, and then it kicks in on that jump, which is actually kind of cool. Combat, I don't think combat is a real necessity for you. The only thing that you're really looking for in this case actually doesn't kick in, because phase missile bypass shield chance, fighters and bombers don't get phase resonance. So it only applies to your super cap, and the only reason I would think you'd even want this is weapon reload on your point defense, because I'm hoping that whoever's piloting one of these knows that you don't really want this guy in range to be able to shoot, because the bombers are doing all of the damage for you anyway. So don't let this ship get in there. It's not there to do that. Utility tree is actually very good. Anything that reduces your cooldowns is good, specifically on countermeasure, which you can drop it from 90 seconds, and it goes down in cooldown all the way down to 75, but you would essentially be dropping it down, I think, almost 30 seconds by the time you're getting up here. So then if you've got utility maxed out at 36, and let's say that you got the plus 20% experience and minus 20% cooldown in minor factions, you're using this on cooldown, and you never lose the damage reduction buff that the ship gets. So I think utility actually is a really good way to go for this ship. So mobility first, utility second, or maybe you do both of them in parallel just to get the cooldown kicked in here and then the max speed kicked in here. But eventually get to these two first, and then if you're gonna go combat, it's not for this ship, it's for everything else that you've got in your fleet. And then ships to pair with it. So the Vasari Titan, absolutely build this and send it in with you. This might be, I might actually change my tune and say the Vasari might want the, oops, I hit the wrong button while I'm in debug mode. It might actually be time to go with the hangar on the Titan. This gives you essentially free 30 aircraft, and you can get this at level 1, or 30 bombers or 20 fighters immediately. And if you've got those in the air, Then you grab the Strikecraft armor, let the fighters all sit in the Verostra, which gets you no bonuses, and put all bombers on this ship. And then you've basically clogged up the air with 20 fighters that are going to kill a bunch of air, and you're going to have however many squads of these. I think this is 18 just to start with, but then it goes up to what was my math? 27, goes 18, 27, and 36 in the first 4 levels. So you very quickly multiply your fighter count. So then other ships that I would pair it with is get more Wanderers and get to 3 as quick as you can. I think just because more aircraft means that they're more durable. It spreads out the damage taken, the enemy fighters picking on your bombers. Get them out as quick as you can because you want the levels, and you very quickly overtake the count of other aircraft just by getting, like, I think the level 4. Your supply is out managing your fighter count. So the Volcaros, I don't. This is actually not a bad idea because you are going bombers, and let's say you're in tier 4, so you're already at. You're probably getting to phase missile damage level 2 by that point. So having a Desolator also there, because you're going to have all that bonus phase missile damage, is probably a really, really good idea. But you're probably not going to have too many of them, just enough to help kill planets pretty quick. Absolutely get at least 1, if not 2 Marauders. You can phase out hull on yourself if you need that much, or if you need just a little bit of extra safety. And you definitely want distort gravity, because either you might be sitting at a edge of a gravity well and needing to turn, but hopefully you are not bringing your Wanderer anywhere near a fight, and you're just kind of letting your bombers and fighters do all the work, because they are super, super strong. So the Marauder will keep you it'll keep you moving fast, it'll keep you turning quickly, it'll give you all that acceleration with distort gravity. You can use phase restoration to save yourself if you get heavily targeted by something, and then you don't go down. And then you've also got the ability to phase out hull an enemy, or phase out hull yourself if critical damage is coming, or a big spike of missiles didn't get caught by your first skill, or by a countermeasure pulse. Absolutely grab a bunch of Scarantra carriers. The more aircraft, the merrier. And you can even go so far as you can spec into Elite Strikecraft instead of Nanite Armor or Repair Cloud, just because you're going to have so much aircraft in the air that that you want the bonus damage that the Elite Strikecraft gives you on the carrier. Now you do have the option to go bomber or fighter on those. Actually, I do have it here. So you get, I think it's the same thing at level 2, 4, 6, 8. You get 1 additional set of Strikecraft on this, but you can grab the Elite Strikecraft. And I recommend personally getting the fighters in the Scarantra and leaving the bombers on the Wanderer. But you could also do just full bombers everywhere, and then nobody knows which of those bombers actually belongs to the Wanderer, and it keeps your own those bombers actually a little bit safer. So definitely pick up some Scarantras just to augment the air and clog up as much as you can in the air to keep your own aircraft alive. The Evacuator does work decently well with the Wanderer. You would probably level up into Gravity Warhead and Subspace Rupture. More so on Gravity Warhead than you would Subspace Rupture, just because Gravity Warhead is so good. And by increasing the duration that an enemy can't jump, or increasing the duration that they're slowed, it allows your bombers to just absolutely pick everything off everywhere. Because in theory, you're not wanting to get into a direct fight, and you're just wanting to let your aircraft win the air battle and then win the fleet battle for you. but gravity warhead will allow you to chase and allow you to possibly even just run away, just because you'll slow everything down that much. Cordal, I know I've been really high on the Cordal in the past. I don't actually think you would need or want these for anything. If anything, you're actually picking it up for jam weapons and volatile nanites more than you care about the damage, because by going Wanderer, it shifts you into a kind of a full aircraft build instead. And maybe you have to do everything backwards with Exodus that we used to do, where it was build as much frigates and cruisers as we could early, and then go capital ships, but really go a lot of Devastators, go a lot of Desolators, a lot of Scarantras, and then a couple of the other ones to go with your Titan. And now I think you don't even care about the Devastator, but this will be essentially your tank capital ship that if somebody is going to fight you and you're going to let them get close, you want these in the front taking as much damage as you can and keeping these as far back as humanly possible. Maybe just in range to hit a countermeasure to save your Cordal, but you really want these in the front line doing all the tanking while everything else stays behind it. And then paired with other stuff, the Overseer I think is excuse me. Overseer is good just because you probably want the mobile phase detection, since you're going to be going mobile as a fleet anyway. Knowing what's coming and what's going away from you it just gives you that much more information. So at least a couple of these, at least with the what did I just call it? The mobile phase detection, just ready to have it to go. Destructors got heavily nerfed in the current patch, so you're better off just using your capital ships to bomb instead of using cruisers to do it. Penetrator would help you obviously if cracking star bases. You can either do it with Strikecraft, which will still take a while because 1000 durability and 600 pierce don't really go that hand in hand. So the Penetrator will help crack the big stuff that your Wanderer can't. And then if you can't afford the exotics to build up a whole bunch of Scarantras, maybe you just go with the Transporter instead and clog the air that way. You're essentially spending 7.5 supply for per squadron versus the increasing strength of each level on the Scarantra or the Wanderer. So if you can afford it, you want the Scarantra, and I think it's level 4 where this becomes more aircraft efficient than the Transporter. So you want levels on it, and you want as many of these as you can get, obviously, because Elite Strikecraft is going to help you get over the edge. But if you can't afford the exotics at that time, go ahead and throw the Transporters in to support that way. And then otherwise, I don't think that, other than the Warden, really nothing else is going to be as good at supporting. So you'd only want the Warden for the additional point defense that it brings along with. Then maybe you've got some enemy corvettes that those light phase missiles will help you clear. But point defense is going to be better for you, and you've already got so much point defense here that unless you've got heavily outnumbered in fighters or fighters or corvettes, which your own fighters should be numerous enough to take care of, that'd be the only frigate that I would use to support it. Trying to think if there's anything else I missed here. The one thing that I didn't talk about was the build time of the fighters or bombers. So bombers, to replace them, it takes 75 seconds per bomber to rebuild it. So if you enter a planet, and let's say that the other enemy also has a whole bunch of aircraft, you would go in, you do a volley or so, and then you trade aircraft, and Advent rebuilds fighters and bombers quicker than you do. So if you're up against Advent, and let's say that each side took a whole bunch of heavy losses, they will replace quicker than you. So if you start to have a dwindling aircraft number, go ahead and pull back at least one phase lane, if not two, rebuild all your aircraft, and then go back in. Fighters have a 90-second build time. So if you need that much, or if you lose some fighters, absolutely go back for build time. So I did want to do one quick test on stream. Let me delete everything here. So I'll pause it. I gotta wait for all the exotics. Otherwise, whatever's fighting just does a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, there we go. Alright. So I want Super Cap. Actually, let's do the enemy first. Got this one. We'll go ahead and throw the... what do we want? Tech Rebel. Pause it. Put that all the way over here. And then we are Vasari Loyalists. We want that over here. So I am going to switch back to myself. So I'm going to do all bombers and without empowered Strikecraft, just so you can see what one volley does to a ship. You stay over there. You're not doing anything.
Your orders. Target locked.
Alright, so you'll note that one wave of the fighters didn't kill any bombers. They're already pretty tanky. But here's what we do is we go to 4150, full wave goes in, and we hardly did anything. It's 3800. That's a little bit, what is that? A little bit over 400. A little bit less than 400, 350. So I am going to delete them all, grab Strikecraft, build them all, and send them out again.
Relocating infrastructure.
And this time they have the Pierce, just so you can see what the Pierce does. So here goes the Pierce shot, 3790. Didn't even shoot them all. Come on, guys, make me look bad. Alright, I think that's a full volley. So that was 1,000 damage, essentially, because of the Pierce and because of the damage increase per missile. So I think that this is going to be kind of a fun, unique play style. I think having an Exodus player get to the Wanderer is going to force other factions to have to immediately react. Actually, you can see here the point defense on this is actually, so he's down from 12 fighters to 6 and 4 bombers to 2, just because the point defense is killing him. But anyway, I think getting to Wanderer and having multiples of Wanderers is going to have to force a reaction out of another player. Specifically, because I play Vasari Alliance, it's going to either force the player to go full fighters to fight bombers and then try and get to the Wanderer after you've kind of thinned the aircraft out, or it's going to require that you lay a trap to catch the Wanderer, essentially to warp in on top of your ships. Because if the Exodus player's playing right, then they're playing nowhere near the enemy player and just letting their aircraft do it. Because you saw it basically went from right here to here and took 1,000 damage, and we're not even level 2 or 4 or 6 where we get all the extra Strikecraft, and you essentially double your damage by level 4 just in bombers. So it's kind of a cool mechanism that the damage is reliant on the aircraft instead. So that's my analysis on the Wanderer. I look forward to what the rest of you think about it. I think that this ship is kind of unique enough and cool enough that it might actually make me switch off of Alliance and go to Exodus, which is a tough thing for me to say. So let me know your comments and down below, and hopefully we'll get to the next one tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.